Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Stuff I Heard podcast. I am your host, Josh Peak. If you are watching this on the YouTube, you can see my fresh new haircut with my ears lowered and, looking kind of stylish here. I'm just saying. It's been a crazy week this past week. I hope you guys enjoyed the last podcast, the Stuff She Said podcast with my wife and a few of her friends. That was pretty entertaining. I went back and listened to it myself. I liked it. The funny part was, a lot of this is behind the scenes stuff and you guys aren't aware of everything that goes on, but behind the scenes, we had some friends over. We were, of course, having a shrimp and grits night. We had done a little, special dinner for everybody. I had been lucky enough to get some shrimp at a reduced price at work. So it was kind of an opportunity for us to get together and just, have fun with friends and drinks and whatnot. And UFC was on TV. I got to watch some really interesting fights on TV. Not everybody was into it. One of the guys' wives was into it, though. She came in and she was like, "Oh, this is cool," But anyway, we had a good time hanging out with them and a good time podcasting with them. And I can see us doing more of that in the future. But a behind the scenes deal that, not everybody's always aware of is, I had kind of egged my wife on about doing this. I was like, you and the girls haven't done a podcast since April. It was like late April, but still it was late April. And we were in the midst of this COVID-19 stuff and everybody's work was starting to be affected then. And so there was a hiatus there where they didn't do one. And here we are in late June. And I was like, hey, by the way, you guys want to do one? Because it's been a while. And she's like, yeah, we'll do one. And, she's sort of like me in a sense that once she says she's going to do something, she's like, I got to follow through with it. So she pushed herself to do it. And then like the day of, she goes, I don't know what we're going to talk about. And I was like, yeah, welcome to my world. Because there's a lot of times I hit record on this. And even up to the minute I hit record, I go, what am I going to say? See, that's the part that I don't think a lot of people understand. A lot of people, feel like they got to have a plan for everything in life. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just have to get in and participate. Sometimes it's all about being present and kind of letting the thing take you where it's going to go. I can't imagine these guys that do this for a living. I mean, every day when they get on the radio and they got to just make up stuff. I mean, I can see where they, talk about the news. They talk about, oh, this was going on with Kim Kardashian today. And this is what the president said today and blah, blah, blah. Because it's just like, I don't know what to talk about after a while. I mean, that's got to be the case, right? And if I'm honest, I mean, the title of this is Stuff I Heard. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, this is very similar to that sort of mentality of, I got some things I want to talk about, but there's also a point where I'm like, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing. And I hope that's obvious to everybody. And I hope that it's still entertaining. I mean, otherwise you guys wouldn't be sticking around all the time, right? I mean, if you're going to do something like this, you gotta talk to somebody. You got to talk as though you're speaking to a group of people, because you are. And that's the point. So thank you to everybody who continues to stick in here. And thank you to everybody who gives me notes on the side. And thank you to the people that, I pass by that are like, hey man, digging the podcast. I mean, I dig that. That's great. Thank you. That's a high five in a place where we're not supposed to be high fiving, but thank you. Appreciate it. So let's talk about some stuff I heard. Okay. I'm into it. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, been catching up with a lot of stuff going on. Most recently, I mean, I did listen to Dan Cummings' Time Suck on the wherever you get podcasts from. And I listened to one that I thought was pretty entertaining. And meanwhile, my buddy Greg texts me and he's like, OMG, I just listened to the one where he talked about LBJ, Lyndon, whatever his name is, Johnson, whatever the B stands for. Lyndon B. Johnson, the president after JFK. And it was a short one. It's like 37 minutes, but it's hysterical because it's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't really know, or maybe you did know about Lyndon Johnson. Apparently he was really famous for pulling his wiener out and showing it to people, and he called it jumbo, and he would just do randomly obnoxious things that you wouldn't think a president should be able to get away with, but he did it in an area where there wasn't social media and there wasn't people to be outrage cultured. And so he was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm the president. Here it is. He he would have conversations with people, and sometimes he would just drop trowel and walk around, pantsless, or invite people over for a conversation, and he would show up in a towel. Or I just got out of the pool, You always go skinny dipping in the pool and blah 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 blah. Blah. And it's just like, what? Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting time suck. So thank you, Greg, for mentioning that. But also, I mean, I've been listening to a lot of Bert Kreischer on Two Bears One Cave and on the Bill Burke podcast. This last episode of Two Bears One Cave that came out this week, the two of them laughed so hard that I really thought both of them were going to die. I mean, they got each other tickled tremendously over Kool-Aid, of all things. Apparently, Bert came in with one of those 64-ounce tumbler insulated things, and it was just full of Kool-Aid. Like, Tom thought he was back drinking, and he's like, "You drinking?" And he's like, "A little." And he's like, "But what I'm really into is this." And he starts pouring it, and he goes, "What is that?" And he's like, "It's Kool-Aid." And he's like, "What?" He goes, "It's very refreshing. I mean, I drink one of these every day." And he goes, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, or sometimes two." And he's like, "2 of those a day? Do you know how much sugar that is?" And he just starts laughing hysterically. He's like, "Are you kidding me? You drink 128 fluid ounces of Kool-Aid a day?" He goes, "Yeah. What, is that bad?" all this discussion about Bert supposedly drinking or eating stuff he's not supposed to, and you see him like running marathons with no training, and running Ironmans, and gets on his treadmill, and he posts it all the time, running 10 miles a day sometimes on his treadmill. It's not like a regular treadmill. It's one of those air assault treadmills that you have to propel it to go forward. It doesn't have a motor that moves underneath you. Like, you have to use your own momentum and push in order to get the thing to move. So it's a real workout. Like, it's tough. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I thought I was being healthy. Look at all the vitamin C it's got." And the two of them laugh so hard. I'm listening to it and I'm laughing so much that I'm crying. I mean, listen, some people can hear other people laugh and they think, "God, that's annoying." And some people hear it and it becomes infectious. And to me, Bert's got one of those infectious laughs. Every time I hear it, I want to laugh too. Listen, why not? Right? I mean, come on. Be in on the joke. Have a good time with it. That's all I'm saying. I made some notes for myself because I wanted to not forget to talk about some things. So the big thing is for me, I say one of the big things. One of the big things for me is Netflix has the show out called Dark. Okay, I've talked about Dark before. Dark is I want to say it's a German show. Really cool, really fantastic, really amazing, really far-fetched and awesome and brilliant and beautiful in so many ways, and yet also extremely confusing and extremely hard to follow. And there are times where the characters in the show are they're putting up like maps of people's pictures and those string things that connect people to people, because time travel is a big part of the show, and it has to deal with this town that's in an area where there's a nuclear power plant, and there's some kind of crazy access to traveling in time in a tunnel, and there's all this stuff that goes on in this town that is so amazing and so weird and so far out there that it's extremely hard to follow at times, because some people travel back in time and start a new family. Some people are related to each other in ways they don't even know until it happens to them, and they're like, "Wait, we just had a kid. What are we going to name it?" And the wife's dying, and she's like, "I'm going to name it so-and-so." And he's like, and all of a sudden he does the math real quick, and I do the math real quick, and I'm like, "Wait, that's this person's great grandmother." What? But he's, you start doing the math in your head, and it's just one of those moments where you go, "I need one of those diagrams behind my head just so I can watch it and go, so they're connected to him here, and this person's connected to them there." And it's so exhausting and awesome and brilliant and beautiful. Listen, this is everything I want in a show, except for the fact that it's in German, and they have like 4 actors doing all the voices of the people. I mean, having German names is a little difficult, okay? Because it's like their English, they're turning to mean the English names at times, but it's like, it's a lot harder to follow than if it was just some dudes from South Carolina doing it. I mean, and that's okay. Listen, I'm okay with that. I get it. I get it. You're making it for you, for your people. I get it. Now, the third and final season is out. It's only 8 episodes, but you cannot start it there. You have to start from the beginning and watch all of them. And even still, if you drew a diagram and if you had notes and if you were like pausing it going, okay, wait, this person is this person's dad? Is that right? You're still going to be at the end of it going, I got to watch this again. Holy crap. Because that's my wife asked me, she goes, how was it? And I went, I want to watch it again. She's like, what? I was like, I feel like I need to watch the whole thing again. I think I could watch this show over and over and over and pick up something new from it every time because there's so much information of things that happen because of this time travel element. And the crazy part is you don't even know about the time travel element until way past the point that you should be paying attention. And then you're like, wait, it's one of those shows. It's very exciting to watch. It's very there. I mean, listen, my wife will walk through and she doesn't want to watch it because the music is very intense. The music is very ominous. And she's like, I'm afraid to watch it just because of the sound coming from the TV. And she's like, that music is just like, what is it scary? And I was like, no, it's just intense. Like there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of things that mean something and have a lot of weight behind it. And there is some brutality. There is some murder. I mean, it happens. It is part of the show. There is a lot of, even when you get the time travel element of it, there is an element of a parallel universe in there that comes into play where again, you're yelling at the TV going, are you kidding me? What? I mean, listen, it's, I love it. I know there's a lot of people going to watch it and be like, I can't follow this. This is crap. And they're going to turn it off. If this is your jam, listen, I'm telling you, this is going to be your favorite thing ever. Dark, D-A-R-K, dark. Look it up. Now, I'm on a few of the forums where people talk about the show, and there's a lot of people that say it's even better if you watch it in German and then just read the subtitles because then you can hear their voices, the actors' voices better, and it kind of helps you determine who's who. So I may do that. I may go back and watch the whole damn thing in German and just read the subtitles. Maybe it'll help me figure out who's who along the way a little bit easier. I don't know. The special effects are crazy. The storyline is crazy. I mean, I don't know what drugs people did to write this show, but holy crap, they did a great job. It's really great. Okay, so enough about Dark. I know you guys are like, yeah, move on, dude. We get it. I watched a goofy movie that was so stupid in a lot of ways, but so entertaining in a lot of ways. And it has a reveal at the very end that's even funnier. It's called Killing Gunter. Gunter. Killing Gunter. And Bobby Moynihan is like the first character that I recognized because he was on Saturday Night Live. There's other characters in it where I'm like, oh, they look familiar, but I don't care about any of them. His character is funny. The show starts off in the previews. You're going to watch the previews with him talking to a camera, like a film crew, like a documentary crew. And they're asking him, how did you get to be a serial killer? Or how did you get to be a contract killer? And he's like, well, I was working in a mine one day, and I had this boss who was a real jerk. And one day I decided I wouldn't tell him that we were going to blow up the tunnel he was in. And boom, there he was. And I thought, hey, I could do this. And it's so funny the way he delivers the line. But then, like, the show, as you're watching the show, you realize there's a guy who gets together a group of these assassins who are supposed to take out the guy who's at the top. And the guy who is at the top is named Gunter. Okay, so that's the whole premise of the show. They're going to form this big group of these, assassins, and they're going to pool together their resources to try and, quote unquote, kill Gunter. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and tell you that the Gunter is not who you think it's going to be. And I'm not going to tell you who it is. I want to tell you who it is. I want to be like, okay, listen, all right, I'm going to ruin it. If you don't want to know the answer, skip ahead like, I don't know, a few minutes. Just hit the forward button real fast. Okay, we're going to do it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, Gunter is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay. I'm not kidding. He is silly. He's everything you'd want him to be. He is like, it's like watching The Hangover and Mike Tyson shows up at the end. You're like, wait, it's Mike? I mean, it's one of those moments. And he even does a parody thing on himself where towards the end he says he wants to be a country western singer, and he has like a little recording studio, and hilarious. Okay, that I just you got to watch it for that part. Okay, if you're watching it and you're like, this sucks, just get to the part where he's in it, and you're like, okay, this is good now. It made it totally redeemable for the whole thing. Okay, I'm just saying. Killing Gunter, check it out. It's on Netflix. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, so I do have an 18-pound pork shoulder on my grill right now. It's been smoking since 8:30 this morning. It is now 12:39, so it's been going for 4 hours or so, and it's looking great. I've got a little thing on my phone monitoring how it's cooking. Really excited about it. Cleaned my grill out today, and it's supposed to rain today, so I put a tent over the grill, and I'm not sure if that's a great idea, but I've looked online, and a lot of people, there is a fan page on Facebook, Gorilla Grills and Pellet Grills fan page. And people talk about tips that they do and things that they do, and some people have mentioned that they put a tent over their grill when it's raining just to kind of get it so they can get out there and mess with their stuff and not have to get rained on while they're doing it. And I thought, that's not a terrible idea because, I mean, this pellet smoker has a chimney on one side so that all the smoke goes out one side. And I just positioned it to where it was kind of towards the right side. And that way, it's a big open, one of those canopy tent things. It's big. We've had it for years. Matter of fact, when I opened it up, I noticed it's got a hole in one part that I'll probably have to get fixed. But the cool part is it does keep me dry, and the smoke can go up and then it can billow out, and it's fine. It's not going to hurt it. You know, I have thought about building like a gazebo thing over it, maybe using like the corrugated tin for the weathering, and then maybe building like a shelf on either side so that I could have place for stuff to sit on. But if I'm honest, I only need a shelf on the left side. I mean, because that's the main part where I tend to access everything from. The right side, not so much. I mean, I can kind of leave that open. But anyway, I'm going to design something. The tent thing right now is just temporary. Okay, so the hard part was I had the tent in the garage, and I knew I had it somewhere, but I didn't know where I had it. I remember putting it up, but I went up to the garage this morning after I cleaned the grill, and I was like, all right, where is that thing? And I looked, and I looked, and I looked, and I looked. And I was about to give up, was walking back in the house up the steps, and I looked over, and I've got a pile of wood that's like cedar wood that I'm going to build furniture out of. And I was looking at this pile of cedar, and over behind a rolled up carpet, because don't ask me why, but we have a rolled up carpet in our garage with plastic all over it. It was on the other side of the carpet down in a hole. And I thought, ah, crap, I got to move all of that wood to get that tent out from behind, because there's a plastic table up there too, holding it kind of in place so it won't fall over. And I was like, I got to move all that crap just to get this out of here. I was like, maybe I can reach in there and pull it out. It's way heavier than I thought. It became kind of comical because I had a hold of it. I pulled it up about, 3 feet or so, enough to get my other hand on it. Went to pull on it, couldn't get it up. Finally had to drop it. I was like, well, screw this. I had to just let it go. I physically couldn't lift it up past the level it needed to go from the angle I was at. And then I just had to get down there and move everything out of the way and pull it out. Covered in sweat. I mean, I was sweating profusely. I mean, it looked like I'd been walking outside in the rain. I thought, oh, great. I did the tent for nothing. Just soaking wet now. Went outside, put up the tent myself. Everybody was asleep, and got the tent set up. Again, pouring sweat. I would have been wetter. I would have been wetter that way than I would have if I was standing out in the rain that was happening at the time, which was minimal. But it is supposed to rain later, so that's kind of the point of the whole thing, is just I wanted to put it up. But I got all that cleaned up, came inside, got the meat ready, the meat was already on. I got the meat ready and put the meat on. I cut off a big slab of fat that was on one side. But anyway, slow smoke. It's going to be great. I'm putting pictures up on Instagram. If you guys are watching me on Instagram, JTATPEEK, I am putting up pictures along the way so you guys can see the progress. It's looking great. I'm cooking it today for Saturday. We're supposed to get together with some friends at Dan and Lori's house. We're going to go swimming in the pool and eat and set off some fireworks. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I did get to see my mom recently. I went over to visit her and my stepdad, Dan. Dan has built her a little porch on the back of their house. It's kind of cute. Mom gave me some tomatoes from her garden. I brought her, what did I bring her? Oh, I made a duck. You guys, if you're following me again on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever, you'll see she had a wooden duck that belonged to my grandfather that she brought me. That was what they call a whirligig. The wind blows and its wings spin, and it's just something cool to look at. Anyway, he made this thing supposedly. I don't know that he made it. Mom says he made it. I don't know that he made it. My papa was not known as someone who does really tedious finish work. He was kind of rough around the edges kind of a guy. He worked hard his whole life, but I just don't know that he has that artistic side to him. I think that he bought this and maybe it was broken. He modified it or fixed it and just passed along as, oh yeah, look what I did. I don't know that. I don't know if he actually did or not. That's just it. I don't know. I have to take my mom's word for it and say that he did. So I took it apart. I fixed one of the wings that were broke, put it all back together, repainted it, sanded it and repainted it, and it looks great. Like I didn't paint it perfectly. Honestly, I think I painted it better than he would have. Again, I don't think he painted it. I don't think he did it. He may have done the wings. I mean, the wings were done out of like old pressed plywood, and one of them was destroyed when the thing fell off its original stand, it looks like. The other one was dry rotting. I cleaned it up, sanded it down. When I painted it with Rust-Oleum so that it penetrates and rebonds. Put more than one coat on there, so it should stand up again for a long time. I got a new threaded rod for underneath it so it would stand up there and not move, and should be fine. So anyway, took that over to her, visited with her for a while. I wore a mask because my mom is immunocompromised. She has rheumatoid arthritis, and the medicine she has to take makes her more susceptible to anything. So I wore a mask, even though I hate wearing masks. Right now, there's a big push for people wearing masks in cities again. And then a lot of cities are making it mandatory. There's a lot of cities that are charging you a fine if you're not wearing a mask. Okay, so here's the debate. Here's the conversation that I see happening on Facebook is there's a lot of people that are outraged if you're not wearing a mask in public. I don't understand wearing masks when you are 6 feet away from each other. I don't understand wearing a mask if you're outside working and there's no one around. Why do I need to have a mask on? I don't get it. I grew up with asthma. I grew up with breathing problems. I have claustrophobia. Whenever I'm in enclosed places or tight places, I get a little panicky. I don't do well with masks on. You want to freak me out? Put me in a tiny elevator and have it break down. I'll crawl outside my skin trying to break through the place. I'll Kool-Aid man it through a wall. I mean, oh yeah. You'll have a little outline of me in the wall. So I'm not a fan. I'm taking it with me in places that demand that I wear it when I'm in the place. But, I work in the food industry, and I can tell you, I saw a restaurant recently that people wear masks in the kitchen. That's the second one in the last 2 months that I've walked in where people are wearing masks in the kitchen. And they're working around each other, which is smart. I mean, whatever. But also, I'm of the opinion that you should only have to wear one if you're immunocompromised. If you're one of the people that are susceptible, wear one. If you're not, stop it. Stop making it mandatory. See, here's my point, okay? I've read into the lines of this fascism thing of, the way to separate people, pandemic helps. Get everybody fearful on the news. Tell everybody that you're going to die. Then separate each other. Get them as far apart as possible. Create party lines, whether it's white and black, whether it's police and non-police. Hey, wear a mask so we can't tell who you are. Just separate the self altogether. Let's stop talking about ourselves as being you and me and whatever. Let's just trade it all down for us versus them. Makes it a lot easier to demonize everybody who's not you, right? Then you don't have connections with anybody. Nobody's a name. They're just numbers. Makes it a lot easier for you to look the other way when things go sideways. I'm just saying, to me, this is how fascism starts. This is that moment in Star Wars where they all vote to make Palpatine the emperor, and they're all chanting, for him to be the leader. We're watching our freedom disappear right now, and it's terrifying. The crazy part is there's only a small amount of my friends who seems to understand this is what's happening. But we're going to remember this moment. We're going to remember this. I'm telling you. So, I don't care what Fauci says. I don't care that there's 100,000 cases a day that people are getting it. Younger people are getting it, which is actually a good sign because younger people are more resilient. They're getting over it. They're healing from it. Okay. We're going to need this. We're going to need 100,000 a day to get this herd immunity growing. I mean, people don't want to talk about that, but that's the reality. We're going to have this. This is going to have to be something in our culture, in our lives, in order for us to get over it. We're going to need herd immunity. This is the flu. This is a version of the flu. It's a deadlier flu, but it's a version of the flu. A vaccine's not going to do it. As soon as we come up with a vaccine, the thing's going to change. It's going to morph into something else. We can't lock ourselves indoors. We can't put our faces in the dirt and say it's all going to go away. We can't believe that a government is going to come through and solve everything. Have you guys ever known the government to do anything right? Anything? I mean, they passed $6.2 trillion as the first stimulus plan. What'd you get? $1,200 a person? Let's do the math. Does that add up? No. All right. So enough about face masks. Let's move on. Disney Plus has a show behind the scenes, Frozen 2. I don't exactly know the name of it, but if you guys have Disney Plus, you can scroll around. It's the behind the scenes of Frozen 2. I didn't think I would care about it. I mean, I watched Frozen 2 once, and I was like, it's okay. It wasn't as good to me as Frozen 1. But when you watch the behind the scenes, you kind of understand the movie a little better. I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's episodes where they talk about the story and how they came up with the story and how they developed the story and why the story is what it is and what it really means. And there's parts where they talk about the songs and the music writing and what the music means and how it's delivered and who it's delivered by and why it means what it means. And there's a lot of elements of it where you go, oh, that's what they were trying to get. Okay, I get it. I'll be honest, I wanted to see it again. I'll probably see it again today. You don't know. You need to boss of me. So anyway, I might watch it today. That being said, I will talk about this. This morning when I woke up, not only was I prepping the meat and getting the tent out and all that other fun stuff with the grill, cleaning the grill out, my internet went down. And not normally down. Okay, so here's I'm going to get a little techie here. I'm going to simplify it, but I'm also going to explain it techie if anybody's real techie knowledge base. So here's the simple version. I turned on my laptop and my phone this morning, and I realized, oh, my phone's on cellular, and my laptop won't recognize my Wi-Fi. Why not? Okay, so on my phone, I have this router out there, and the name of the router is Amplifi, Amplifi. If you guys know my buddy Jeff, who's been on the podcast here, Jeff Veely, he's my computer tech guy. When our old router was starting to give us trouble, I reached out to him and I said, hey, I want one of those mesh point routers, and I'm really looking for something good. And he goes, I just installed one of these yesterday. These are really good. And I was like, I'll buy it now from Amazon. And he goes, it's really easy to set up. You're going to love it. And he was right. Really easy to set up. And I love it. It was a little pricey, but hey, I'm worth it. So I got the thing. It's got 2 mesh points that I put on opposite sides of the house. It covers my back porch now. It covers my garage. It covers upstairs in the room above the garage fine. It covers the podcast studio. It covers the bathroom, the closet, everything. I can be out in my yard. It covers everything. Works great. I'm real happy with it. But for some reason this morning, it was not getting a signal to our devices. Not sure why. Okay. So I thought instantly, okay, this has to be Spectrum. Must be the internet's down. So I looked online. I go to the usual sources, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of stuff, looking for outage information. Google. I tried to Google it. Google says, no, there's no outage in your area. I'm like, okay. Went to Facebook. Nobody reported anything. I was like, okay. And I seen something on Google that said to look on Twitter, something called Ask Spectrum. They have apparently a chat site, Ask Spectrum, where you can connect to somebody through Twitter. And I didn't know they did that. That was kind of a cool feature. I went on Twitter and I looked up their thing and I went ahead and wrote them a message and I said, hey, I woke up this morning and I don't have coverage. I'm in Florence, South Carolina. Do you guys report anything being down? Someone wrote back right away. Nothing's down in your area. What's going on? So I wrote them back and we continued a dialogue that went on for like an hour of us problem shooting things that were going on with my modem because I thought it was my modem. Went through the whole process. Everything looked fine. Matter of fact, I even asked them, I said, can you see when this thing is plugged in and ready to rock and roll? And they were like, yes. And they were like, unplug your router and your modem and I'm going to reset something here, and then I'll text you when you can plug in your router, your modem. See, it's even confusing for me. Your modem. Modem is the one that Spectrum owns. Okay, so she was like, or I'm saying she, I'm guessing it's a she, said, okay, now you can plug in this. I think because the name was Kayla on the typing. Anyway, so anyway, she texts me and she on Twitter and says, hey, go ahead and plug it in, but don't plug in your router until this thing completely loads. I'll let you know when it's completely loaded. And then a few minutes pass and she's like, okay, now you can plug in the other. And I plugged in the other and it still wasn't working. And I was like, okay, all right. So if you can see it and I'm still not seeing it on my phone, maybe it's a problem with this router, the Amplify router. So using the app through cellular, I could see it on my phone. And now that I knew that the internet was working between that Spectrum modem and the world, I was like, okay, now I need to see if this thing can actually pick it up between the two because it's only like one Ethernet cable that connects the two. So using my phone, I was able to do a speed test and it saw everything was working like it's supposed to. And I was like, okay, good. So now why am I not getting a signal from that to all my devices? So I looked on the app and there was a thing on there to reboot. And I thought, okay, well, let me try to reboot it this way because I've tried unplugging it, but maybe rebooting it from the app will do the trick. Doesn't do the trick. Okay, so this is the part where it gets really technical. There is a help thing on the app. I accessed the help thing and it was like a text thread with it connected to something called Bobby. Okay, Bobby is not a person. Bobby is an automated service. I know this because I asked Bobby more than one question, and it kept spitting out the same 2 paragraphs. And I was like, and then I thought, okay, what's going on here? And I typed something like, "Are you a person or a robot?" And it says, "To speak to an agent, please text blah 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 blah." And so I did speak to an agent. So I did. Then I got someone named Sheldon. Of course, instantly I thought of Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory, which I don't even know if that's that person's name, but it's kind of clever if it is. Shout out to Sheldon. Sheldon went through a lot with me over the course of another 2 hours of trying to locate information, trying to plug in this thing and that thing, trying to access information from different devices. At one point, I even connected a very old computer through Ethernet to see if I could see any more information that would help. Sheldon helped me find the ISP codes that the device had versus what was seeing on the computer, and they were completely different, which is immediately he was like, okay, I know how to fix this. Go onto the app and select, you're going to have to select it to factory settings. take it back to factory settings. So I did the whole thing to go back to factory settings, and I thought, if this works, great. If it doesn't work, then I'm screwed. And not only that, but I've just lost this whole conversation, and all my devices have to be renamed and synced up to these thing. And I was panicking. I was like, oh God, this is gonna suck. I'd spent way too much time doing this. This has been like a total of like, I don't know, 3 hours at this point. So factory settings, everything queues up, everything looks like it's green lights. And I was like, ooh, could it be? It is. And it worked. It amazingly worked. Everything worked. Not only did it work, I mean, I had to rename the thing and put in my password for it again so that it would recognize me as me. But every device immediately turned back on that was connected to it, and it all worked. And I was like, oh, yay. That's so great. It's so great. I love it when things work like they're supposed to. I love it when technology works like it's supposed to. So the question I had was, why was this even a thing? Okay, so I've had some firmware updates along the way. And what's cool about this device, one of the things that's cool about this device, is if you have a firmware update, you have a little display screen. And on the display screen, it'll say, you have updates. Would you like to update now? Press here. And if you tap it, it just automatically updates. It doesn't interfere your service. It doesn't shut off and shut back on. You just keep working like normal. And it works fine. Well, we had a firmware update, like, I don't know, a few days ago. Nothing seemed to change. Everything seems fine. I know firmware updates are supposed to fix little bugs and stuff like that. Well, the only thing I can think of, because I've not had this problem ever before, and we've had this device now not quite a year, is maybe there was a firmware update that caused a problem. I asked Sheldon on the app, hey, do you know why this was even a problem? I don't understand what even caused this. My wife had told me she was watching, because she gotten up by then. She was told me she was watching TV last night through the Fire Stick, and it just shut off, and then the internet was off everywhere. And she was like, well, crap, I guess I'm done. And he was like, well, it really can only happen if someone tries to establish a bridge to another modem. And I was like, well, how would that happen? I do have neighbors. Maybe somehow they hit something trying to connect their device and somehow pulled from my device as an accident. I don't know. But anyway, big shout out to Sheldon and customer service for both Spectrum and Amplify. I know that a lot of people talk a lot of trash about Spectrum being horrible. This really helped. So thank you. Thank you to them. You guys know that in the past I had cut the cord from being hooked up to DirecTV or any of that other stuff because the prices had gotten really out of hand. Last year I went with YouTube TV for $50 and was happy with it because I could watch football with no problem. They've announced just yesterday that they're going to increase their prices to $65 from 50 to 65. Not great. Not real happy about that. This is kind of the way things are. A service comes along, they go, we got a great deal for you. And the next year they're like, yeah, screw you. We don't need you. This is kind of how DirecTV and Dish Network and Spectrum, for that matter, cable, this is how they've kind of phased themselves further and further away from their customers, is by just raising the price all the time. You can price your people out of using your service, and you can price yourself into bankruptcy if you do it right. I mean, come on. This is one of those moments where you got to do the right thing. And I don't think this is the right thing. Now, this may be to contract issues and prices are going up everywhere and it's unavoidable. Okay. Well, so is turning off my service. So I haven't had service since football ended last year after the Super Bowl. I think that was the last time I watched football and had YouTube TV. And if football even happens this year, I'll have to look and see what I can watch it on. But it probably won't be YouTube TV. Just saying. I'll be looking for other options. So, big shout out to anybody who's got other options. Let me know. I'm open to it. It's going to be weird with this whole COVID thing. What's going to happen with sports? What's going to happen to football, if football is even going to happen? I know recently Cam Newton got signed by the Patriots. That's kind of an interesting hire. It will be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if it's a good fit, but hey, it's kind of one of those moments. It's almost like playing a video game version of real life. It's like, oh, what if so and so was a quarterback of that team? You know, kind of. I mean, you got Brady at the at the Buccaneers now. I mean, this could be interesting. Uh, so I don't know. We'll see. What else? If I talked about everything I got notes for, see, I try to take notes. I hope you guys appreciate the fact that I'm writing down information. I'm trying to be up to speed on everything. I'm trying to not lose my place because usually whenever I finish it, I'll go, oh, I should have talked about this thing. I got one thing I'm not supposed to talk about, but I'm going to anyway. My lovely wife, you guys have heard her on the podcast many times. She is the host of her own stuff she said podcast. She is my biggest supporter. She is my biggest fan, and I am hers. She has worked in the freight industry for a long time. She worked for 14 years with a company called Yellow. Yellow bought Roadway and became Yellow Roadway, and they laid her off after 14 years. A bunch of people on a phone call. They just let people go. They said, we're moving the company in a different direction, and sorry, but your services are no longer needed. Really harsh. I mean, I was trying to wrap my head around that. I've been with the company I've been with now for almost 13 years. October will be 13. That's a long time to put in your blood, sweat, and tears with a company for them to just go, yeah, we don't need you anymore. Goodbye. It's like, what? So anyway, when that happened, thankfully I worked where I work now, and money was okay. Insurance was okay. She found another job working for Southeastern Freight. She did 9.5 years with them, and they did the same thing. It's a big kick in the mouth, right? I mean, come on. And it's not because of not putting out numbers. Like, she's increasing her sales territory all the time with both companies. And they're like, yeah, we don't need you. So then she gets a job with Central Freight. And Central Freight bought Wilson. They're growing-ish, kind of, trying to be a big deal. They, during this coronavirus thing, bought a whole bunch of new tractors. And they laid her off. She got a phone call. Hey, if you're on this phone call, the following list of people, 14 people on a phone call, we're no longer needed. It's a real kick in the mouth. Now, I said that to say this. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I know that, listen, I'm an optimist, and I know that everything happens for a reason. And at every move, because listen, everything you go through, later on you go, oh, well, I mean, it all worked out. Like, this is the way it's supposed to happen, so that I would be pushed to move towards this other thing that I'm happier with now. Maybe it's the fact that time heals all wounds. Maybe it's the fact that you have to be optimistic in the face of adversity. Maybe it's God's will. Maybe it's the push that you need. Maybe it's that idea of when things are rough, you always go, I wish something better would happen. And then you're seeing something really horrible, but then it's the ultimate goal at the end. But you wouldn't have gotten there unless this other thing had happened. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the circumstances. All I know is it's hard. I love this woman. And, she gives everything she can to a business. And it's unfortunate. Companies tend to, at times, only look at numbers and not people. But in these situations, they didn't even look at numbers, because she was the reason they had numbers to start with and the reason they were growing numbers. And all of their success was due to the fact that she was bringing numbers to the table. This company, this CFL, Central Freight, they had put out some ridiculous number or goal to hit, and she was doing it. Most of the company was not, and she was. Not only was she, but her entire region was. They were all posting the numbers that were asked and moving towards that goal, where the rest of the company was floundering. And they were like, yeah, goodbye. Don't need you. So, with that being said, I hope Central Freight burns to the ground. There, I said it. I'll light it on fire. I don't care. If you use Central Freight, here's your opportunity to run away. I'm just saying. You don't have to. Just not happy with it right now. And I know that people are like, you shouldn't ill will on people, and you shouldn't say things that are negative. And my wife is not that person. My wife is not going to say anything bad. She may to me, but listen, we're husband and wife. We can be honest with each other, okay? But even now, she's like, it sucks, but hey, it is what it is. I'm the one saying this, okay? Hope you guys catch on fire and your business is up for bankruptcy. That's it. That's all I want to say. That's how I'm going to end the podcast today. Anybody who knows me is like, yeah, this is true to brand. Yeah. So anyway, thank you to everybody who subscribed. Thank you to everybody who's listening. If you work for Central right now, you're like, screw this guy. Listen, hey, I'm just telling you, the writing's on the wall. This company is not meant to make it. It's not meant to make it. If any other competing company in the area hires my wife, you guys better hang on because she's going to obliterate you. I'm just saying that out loud. Shout out to Estes and Old Dominion if you guys want to obliterate your competition. Give her a call. She's on LinkedIn. She's on all this stuff. Deloris Peak. Look her up. I'm a big fan. If anybody's got anything to say about that, you know where to find me. Okay? You guys take care. Go check out Dark if you want something that's going to warp your mind. Go check out Killing Gunter if you want to laugh at the surprise character. I hope you guys, if you were going to like watch it and you're like, I don't want to know who it is, you just get past that part. But if you listen to it, you're going to be like, that's going to be great. All right. So that's it. Take care. Rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends. If you want to be on the podcast, let me know. I'll talk about anything. I don't care. I'll burn bridges. And that's it. As always, cue the cow.